Brexit.
It's relentless. The media coverage of Brexit's dominated by the twists and turns of daily politics.
Will we get a deal Brexit?
Nobody knows the exact cost
of risk around the Brexit deadline.
It's drowning out a lot of important stories about the impact Brexit is set to have on Britain, Europe, and the rest of the world. We want to get to grips with one of those stories, about what Brexit could mean for our financial systems.
Okay, so Brexit, fast-moving story.
Obviously everyone in this country has huge amounts of Brexit fatigue.
Most of the top regions that people are searching for Brexit and information around it, most of them are in Europe.
There is big research done by the European Parliament called the Eurobarometer. Most of the European countries don't really want to know about bureaucratic decisions and the intricacies of politics. They are all looking into business, trade, and probably this is a subject that really interests people in Europe. How is it actually going to work in terms of economy?
To better understand what's at stake here, we spoke to Chris Lockwood, the Economist's Europe editor.
Well, it seems to me there's two sort of ends to it. You know, one is what the effects on Britain are going to be, and the other is what the effects on Europe are going to be. The effects on Britain and Europe are very different. I mean, the effects are going to be much more severe for Britain than Europe, and that's worth exploring because, you know, Britain's always tried to argue that they need us more than we need them, which is obviously complete nonsense, based on a complete misunderstanding of the way trade flows work. But then you get into other difficult areas like surrounding the City of London. Financial services, those aren't trade barriers, or you know, they're not goods, but there you're into whole regulatory problems where, because we won't be part of the single market anymore, our banks will no longer be treated as being sort of equivalent to European banks. And whereas in the past, if a European country tried to discriminate against our banks and not allow our banks access to bits of their market, we could always sue in the European Court of Justice. Now we won't be able to.
Many cities can claim to dominate industries. Silicon Valley in California, the centre of technology. For electronics, head to Shenzhen in China. The leading hub for outsourcing is Bangalore, India. And London hosts one of the world's largest international financial centres. Tamsin Booth has been reporting on business and finance for a long time. She's the Economist's Britain business editor.
Within just a square mile here on the banks of the Thames, companies can do so many things. A multinational can sell $5 billion worth of shares in 20 minutes. A startup can raise seed capital from Asian pensioners. A company can insure a pop star's vocal cords or the risk of a hurricane hitting.
So how important are these services for other countries and especially in Europe?
Well, relations between the City of London and Europe are particularly intimate. French and Italian firms often go to London to meet investors, organise a takeover. Some 90% of European interest rate swaps are cleared through the city's plumbing. So the global economy is inextricably linked with London, but Brexit threatens to undermine its global standing.
Since the Brexit referendum, more than 300 financial firms have decided to relocate or set up shop elsewhere in Europe. And soon, thousands of workers from London will be crossing the Channel to staff new offices. They're moving to multiple cities across Europe. Dublin is set to be a hotspot for asset managers. Frankfurt is the bankers' favourite, attracting 43% of bank moves from London. And trading firms are likely to favour Amsterdam. And for all of these cities, new business means new money. By one estimate, £1 trillion in assets could leave Britain. We wanted to find out how two European cities, Amsterdam and Dublin, have been honing their sales pitch to lure those assets away from London.
Hello.
Hello.
Let me first say that we actually hate to see Britain leave the European Union. So we're not very enthusiastic about that whole idea. But in Amsterdam, we have a very good digital infrastructure, which is, for instance, for fintech companies, very interesting.
In Dublin, we've been a European financial centre now for more than 30 years. The fact that we're close to London, that we're English speaking, that we're a common law jurisdiction really appeals.
We have lots of internationally oriented talent.
Close to 90,000 people working in the industry, both foreign and domestic in Ireland.
People who speak many languages, which is attractive. And we also have good accessibility in terms of Amsterdam is near the airport.
So what does this exodus mean for the future of Europe's financial system? Research I've been reading from think tank New Financial concludes that Brexit will take the entire financial services industry backwards.
Hello, how are you?
Good, very well.
Over the past 20 years, anything that can be moved to London has been moved to London because it's so much more efficient for a large bank to run its operations in one financial centre and sell them across border, sell them remotely to customers in the rest of the EU than it is to have 15 offices with 15 separate management structures sprinkled and spread across Europe. And what Brexit is doing, or at least in part, is rewinding some of the progress that has been made, rewinding that process of the past 20 years and forcing firms to shift more of their business back to the EU and have a stronger local presence. So what is the future of London? When you look back over the history of London as a financial centre, it came to dominance because of its unique position as a global financial centre. It helped fund the railway network in what's now the United States, far more so than it helped fund the railways in what's now France and Germany. So I think we'll see London sort of moving back to perhaps its longer-term historical role of being a global international financial system.
London currently ranks second in the Global Financial Centres Index, only after New York. The highest Eurozone city is 15th on the list. Cities like Frankfurt and Paris will be catching up with London post-Brexit, but they probably won't overtake. And any gains they do make at London's expense might prove to be a hollow victory, as Tamsin explained.
Ultimately, for the Eurozone, the costs of having a less efficient financial system and a higher cost of funding are really likely to outweigh the benefits of grabbing some bits of business from the city. The annual bill for every 0.1 percentage point increase in the cost of Eurozone firms' funding equates to 32 billion euros, or 0.3% of the whole Eurozone's GDP.
How is the City of London going to navigate Brexit?
Well, the city could keep a lot of its access to the EU if it agreed to be largely regulated by it. But British regulators rightly fear handing a lot of control to the bloc, especially if the Eurozone's unspoken goal is to shrink the City of London and really boost Paris and Frankfurt.
So as countries across the EU start to weigh the financial consequences of Brexit, what about the political consequences? We've been exploring those too, and they're not necessarily what you might expect.
The people are slightly more optimistic now than before. So I think the Italians are trying to hope for a better future for the EU. Obviously, nothing is for granted. We'll still have to fight every centimetre of ground to actually defend the European Union. But I feel there is a bit more optimism, and that's a good sign.
That was the founder of a new pan-European movement called Volt, which features in another of our films, exploring how the Brexit vote is changing the EU. You can watch that film if you click on the link opposite. The other link will take you to the Economist's latest coverage on Brexit, and also some of the data and research we used whilst making this film. Don't forget to subscribe for all our latest releases, and thanks for watching.